The iPhone 17 Pro Max can now shoot with three 48-megapixel Fusion cameras, record in ProRes RAW, use an 18-megapixel center stage front camera, and reach an optical quality 8x zoom. Apple has even built a vapor chamber into the Pro models to keep the A19 Pro chip performing under sustained loads. The regular iPhone 17 starts with 256GB of storage, while the more affordable iPhone 17e, introduced in March 2026, also starts at 256GB and uses Apple's A19 chip. And yet, none of that explains the strangest thing about the iPhone. People were already obsessed with it long before it could do any of this. In fact, when the first iPhone arrived in 2007, it was missing features that would be considered ridiculous on a modern smartphone. It had a 2-megapixel camera, no App Store, no front-facing camera, no 3G connectivity, and no copy and paste. The 4GB model cost $499 in the United States, while the 8GB version cost $599, both requiring a 2-year contract. So how did that phone become the beginning of one of the biggest consumer product stories in modern history? To understand it, we have to go back to January 9, 2007. Steve Jobs walked onto the stage at Macworld in San Francisco and told the audience Apple was going to introduce 3 products: a widescreen iPod, a revolutionary mobile phone, and an internet communicator.
Today, we're introducing 3 revolutionary products of this class. The first one is a widescreen iPod with touch controls. The second is a revolutionary mobile phone. And the third is a breakthrough internet communications device. So, 3 things: a widescreen iPod with touch controls, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communications device. An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone.
The crowd didn't yet realize that Apple wasn't introducing 3 devices. It was introducing one, the iPhone. And Jobs wasn't presenting it like another mobile phone. He was presenting it as a completely different way of interacting with technology. At the time, physical keyboards were normal. BlackBerry had built an entire identity around its keyboard. Nokia had phones in almost every shape imaginable. Apple's answer was a 3.5-inch touchscreen and a software interface controlled with your fingers. Tap, swipe, flick, pinch. It sounds completely ordinary now because we've spent almost 2 decades doing it. But back then, the idea that you could simply touch a web page and zoom into it with 2 fingers felt futuristic. Apple also combined a phone, a widescreen iPod, and internet capabilities into one device. It supported Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Edge Cellular, data, email, web browsing, maps, and Apple's visual voicemail system. And there was one detail Apple understood exceptionally well. The phone had to be desirable before people understood everything it could do. The first iPhone went on sale in the United States on June 29, 2007. People lined up. But Apple still had a problem. The original iPhone was expensive, limited to AT&T in the United States, and compared with what smartphones would eventually become, surprisingly restricted. Then Apple made a decision that changed the trajectory of the product. It opened the door to developers. In 2008, Apple launched the App Store alongside the iPhone 3G. And this time, the story wasn't simply about a faster phone. The iPhone 3G added 3G networking, built-in GPS, and iPhone 2.0 software. More importantly, the App Store launched with more than 500 native applications, including more than 125 free apps. Think about how important that was. The original iPhone was a product Apple created. The App Store turned the iPhone into a platform other people could build upon. A developer could create a game, another could create a banking application, another could build a social network, another could create a navigation tool. The possibilities started multiplying, and Apple made the hardware cheaper too. The iPhone 3G started at $199 for 8 GB in the United States, compared with $599 for the original 8 GB model. Suddenly, the iPhone wasn't just a fascinating Apple product. It was becoming a mass-market computing platform. Then came 2010, and Apple did something that would make the iPhone feel even more like a premium object. The iPhone 4, it introduced a completely redesigned glass and stainless steel body, a 3.5-inch Retina display with 960 by 640 resolution and 326 pixels per inch, a 5-megapixel rear camera, 720p HD video recording, and FaceTime video calling. The Retina display was particularly important. Apple wasn't simply saying, our screen has more pixels, it was saying that the individual pixels were so dense that, under normal viewing conditions, your eyes couldn't easily distinguish them. The result was sharper text and images. It was another example of Apple's approach. Take a technical improvement and turn it into something a normal person could immediately understand. Then in 2013, Apple introduced the iPhone 5s. This was another major turning point. The 5s introduced Touch ID, allowing users to unlock the phone with a fingerprint and authenticate purchases. It also introduced Apple's A7 chip, which Apple described as the first 64-bit smartphone processor, along with the M7 Motion coprocessor. And something else happened that year. Apple sold more than 9 million iPhone 5s and iPhone 5C units during their first weekend. 9 million phones in 3 days. By then, the iPhone was no longer an experiment. It had become a phenomenon. But Apple still hadn't reached the phone that would completely redefine the design. That came in 2017. The iPhone X'd Apple removed the home button and pushed the display almost across the entire front. It introduced a 5.8-inch OLED Super Retina display, wireless charging, the A11 Bionic chip, and something that would replace Touch ID on Apple's flagship iPhones. Face ID. Instead of placing a fingerprint sensor underneath your finger, the iPhone X used its TrueDepth camera system to map your face. Apple said the system projected more than 30,000 invisible infrared dots to create a mathematical model of the user's face, with processing performed on the device. The iPhone had changed again, and notice what had happened over 10 years. The original iPhone had a physical-looking interface and a 3.5-inch screen. The iPhone X had almost no physical controls on the front and a 5.8-inch OLED display. The original had a 2-megapixel camera. The X had dual 12-megapixel rear cameras and could record 4K video at up to 60 frames per second. But the most important transformation wasn't happening inside the phone. It was happening in people's relationship with the product. The iPhone had become something people expected. Every September, people knew another one was coming. Rumors appeared weeks and months beforehand. Leaked designs spread across the internet. People debated cameras and colors. YouTubers analyzed tiny differences between generations. And then millions of people decided whether their current phone was suddenly old enough to replace. That is a remarkable position for a company to achieve. Your existing phone doesn't have to stop working. The new one simply has to become desirable. And Apple has spent years refining that formula. Look at the iPhone 17 Pro today. 3. 48 megapixel fusion cameras, an 8x optical quality zoom, an 18mm center stage camera, ProRes RAW, Apple Log, 2 Genlock A19 Pro, a vapor chamber, Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6. These are serious technological upgrades, especially for photographers, filmmakers, gamers, and professionals. But the remarkable part is that the average person doesn't need to understand most of them. They just need to understand what the phone can do for them. Take the camera. In 2007, the iPhone had a 2-megapixel camera. Today, an iPhone 17 Pro can use three 48-megapixel fusion cameras and reach 8x optical quality zoom. The front camera can capture up to 18 metropy and automatically adjust the field of view for group selfies. That isn't a minor upgrade. It's an entirely different category of device. And then there is the iPhone 17e. Apple introduced it in March 2026 as the more affordable member of the iPhone 17 family. It starts at $590 in the United States, but unlike the 16, its base storage is 256 GB. It has the A19 chip, a 48-megapixel fusion camera with optical quality 2x telephoto, a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR display, MagSafe and satellite communication features including emergency SOS, messages and Find My when outside cellular and Wi-Fi coverage. Look at where the story has gone. In 2007, Apple was asking people to pay $409 for a 4G phone with a 2-megapixel camera. In 2026, the company's more affordable iPhone starts with 256 GB of storage and a 48-megapixel camera. But technology alone doesn't explain why people keep coming back. Apple built something around the iPhone that is harder to copy. The ecosystem. Once your photos are on your iPhone, your AirPods connect to it, your Apple Watch depends on it, your Mac works alongside it, and your digital life is spread across Apple's services, the iPhone stops feeling like an isolated product. It becomes the center of a system, and that system gets stronger every time you add another Apple product. That's why the iPhone story isn't simply about making better phones. It is about making the next phone feel like the natural continuation of the phone you already own. The original iPhone was revolutionary because it changed what people expected from a smartphone. The App Store changed what a smartphone could become. The iPhone 4 made the display and camera central to the experience. The 5s brought biometric authentication and 64-bit mobile computing. The X changed the physical design and introduced Face ID. And today's iPhones are pushing the device further into photography, filmmaking, gaming, AI, and satellite communication. Almost 20 years later, the phone in your pocket would look completely alien to the people who bought the original one. But the basic idea remains surprisingly familiar. Put powerful technology into something people want to carry. Make it simple enough that they don't have to think about the complexity. Then give them a reason to look forward to the next version. And perhaps that is why everyone keeps wanting an iPhone. Because Apple didn't just create a successful smartphone, it created a product that has managed to make the next one feel important before it even arrives. And that may be the most valuable feature Apple has ever put inside an iPhone.